Hello everyone, welcome to Money Nook. In this video, let's talk about inflation. After watching this video, you will have four takeaways. First, you will understand what is inflation, then you will see how inflation is measured, and most important of all, you will understand how inflation will impact your savings, your retirement plans, and any other plans you might have. And lastly, we will see how inflation has changed in India over the last 40 years. Let's quickly have a look. First of all, what is inflation? Inflation is nothing but increase in the price of any product or any service that you want to buy over a time period. For example, if you want to buy an apple in 2011, let's assume it costed us 10 rupees. If you want to buy it now in 2021, the same apple will cost a bit more. It will definitely not be 10 rupees. Let's assume it's now 20 rupees. So, if we see it in the last 10 years, the cost of an apple has doubled. It has increased by 100%. So, as time passes, in order to buy the same thing, we need to give more money. This is inflation. Would everything double in 10 years? Definitely not. Let's have a look at how costs have changed from 2011 to 2021. Apple increased by 100%, bananas increased by 90%, milk increased by 120%. Similarly, different vegetables changed by different percentages, but the average is let's assume 115. Similarly, petrol, phone bill, house rent, maid, salaries, all of this changed by different percentages. If you actually look at the screen, you can notice that mobile bill has actually dropped by 10 percentage. This is known as deflation. There can be scenarios like this as well. So we now understand that different products inflate at different rate. Then how should you measure the overall inflation? Let's have a look. Government measures inflation by considering the weighted average change in the price of goods and services that a normal household uses. For example, your groceries, petrol, mobile bills, maid, or any other labor charges. The government measures the change in price of all these goods and services and declares that as inflation. Usually, inflation is declared every month, but for a normal person, yearly inflation is sufficient for our calculation purposes. This weighted average is needed because, as we saw, different goods and different services change by a different percentage behind macroeconomic factors or demand supply and multiple other reasons. So, this is the common measure which takes into account all of the changes. All of this is good, but why should we learn about inflation? Because our money will lose value over time due to inflation. Means, let's say you have 100 rupees today. Tomorrow it will not be 100 rupees. It will be less than 100 rupees due to inflation. So, this will directly impact our savings, our retirement plans, and any other plans we might have. Let's see how this happens in reality. Let's say in 2011 you have 100 rupees with you, and as we saw in the example, if you want to buy an apple in 2011, it costs you 10 rupees per apple. So you will be able to get 10 apples with the 100 rupees you have. Let's say you did not spend the money, you saved it very carefully, and now in 2021 you want to buy apples again. So in 2021, as we saw, due to inflation, the apple now costs 20 rupees. So you will be able to get only 5 apples with the 100 rupees you have. Now, let's say you did not spend the money again now, you saved it very carefully, and after 30 years, in 2051, you again want to buy an apple. Now, the apple costs, let's say, 50 rupees due to inflation. So, with the 100 rupees you saved so carefully, you will be able to buy only 2 apples. Your money will lose value over time and you will be able to buy less and less number of things as the time passes. This is nothing but inflation. As we saw, as the time passes, the cost of goods and services that we want to buy will keep on increasing due to inflation. So, our target should be to plan our savings and investments in such a way that the returns from them beats the inflation rate. Along with this, we also need to ensure that we consider inflation as a factor in all of our savings and investment plans for our future. Now let's have a look at the actual data about how inflation has changed over the last 40 years in India. This will give us a flavor about how important inflation is. As you can see in the Excel on the screen, I noted the inflation for India from year 1979 to 2019 in column C, and in column D, the inflation is converted into percentage. Now, let's say I had 1000 rupees with me in 1979. With that 1000 rupees, let's say I can buy XYZ things. Now, the cost of same XYZ things increased over time due to inflation, and by the time it is 2019, they will cost me 20,633 rupees. It means the cost of same goods increased by 20.6 times in the past 40 years. In column F, you can compare the number of times cost of goods increased with respect to 1979 in each of the subsequent years. Similarly, in column G, H, and I, you can compare the number of times cost of goods increased with respect to 1989, 1999, and 2009 in each of the subsequent years. Looking at these figures, we can clearly see a pattern and make it out that in the past 40 years, for every 10 years, approximately the cost of goods that we purchase or services that we get doubled due to inflation. So we can take this as a rule of thumb whenever we are planning for our future expenses or any savings plans or any retirement plans. This will help us to project the required sum in a easy manner. If you look at the inflation figures in the past, they ranged from 4% to 10%, whereas the future inflation for India is projected between 4 to 5 percentage points for the next 4 to 5 years. So, if it materializes and if we have lower inflation as projected, then in fact the cost of goods will not even double in 10 years. It will take more than 10 years for the cost of goods to double. So, to start off with, based on the past data, it is good to take a higher side estimate and assume that your cost of goods will double every 10 years and start planning accordingly to be on a safer side. Let's quickly have a look at the takeaways from this video. We now understand what inflation is and how to measure it. And the most important takeaway of all, we now understand how inflation can impact your savings, your retirement, or any other plans that you may have. We also saw how inflation has changed in India over the past 40 years. Thanks for watching this video. If you find the content useful, please like this video and share it with your friends. Also, please subscribe to Money Nook. And please check out the remaining videos from Know Your Basics playlist. Thank you and bye bye.